Hi everyone, I'm Cheryl and welcome to the Sewing Room channel. I'm really excited about this tutorial because it's so easy and yet it turns out so beautiful. So I'm going to be making this poncho. It has a button trim on one side. Now you can wear it like this, or if you want to, you can turn it and have the buttons going down the front side. Okay, let's get started. You will need about 1 3/4 yard of fabric. Now the fabric I'm using is a fabric from Joann Fabrics and Crafts called Platitudes. Now you don't have to use this fabric. Joann's has a wide range of clothing fabric. So just select a fabric that you feel is appropriate for this poncho. I also recommend that you measure your body. So I'm going to kind of have a little diagram here that you can look at. Your fabric for most of you is going to be cut 30 inches by 58 inches. So some of your fabric is going to be cut off. You set it aside for another project. Now the 30-inch edge is actually going to be the length of the poncho. The 58 wide inch edge is actually going to be wrapped around your body. So it's real important that if you're a small framed person, this poncho was fine for me. It was a little large, not very much so, but I kind of liked it because I like a lot of room. For some of you, if you're taller or wider, then you probably want to cut your fabric wider. So take a tape measure and I want you to bring the 54-inch mark to the 0 mark and wrap it around your body. And if you have plenty of room to move your arms, this is probably going to work well for you. If it feels a little snug, then you may want to add anywhere from 2, 3, or 4 inches. So the finished size of your fabric going this way and this way when you've done most of the sewing steps will be 26 inches long by 53 inches wide. Now this is just a smaller sample. The process is the same no matter which size you cut your fabric. So right now you want the not so pretty side of your fabric up. If your fabric looks exactly the same on both sides, then you don't need to worry about it. But if there is a difference, then of course you want to have the not so pretty side up. It's usually the lighter side. You're going to go to your 2 longest edges, the ones that you cut 58 inches. You're going to go to those. And at your ironing board is where you're going to do this step. Fold it over 1/2 inch and press it all the way across. Then of course go to the opposite long edge and do the same thing. Then you want to go to your shorter edges. That's this edge here. Fold it over 1/2 inch and press. Now, don't worry if these corners look a little funky. So this is what it'll kind of look like when you're done. These are all going to be covered up in some following steps. After all 4 sides are folded over 1/2 inch and pressed, then you're going to go back to your 2 longest edges again, and you're going to fold it over 1.5 inches and press. Then go to your 2nd longest edge, do the same, fold it over and press, then go to your 2 shorter ends, folding them over and press. So here's what it looks like when all of your pressing is done. So this is my shorter edge and this is the longer edge right here. So you want to take the shorter edge and you're just going to open it up like this and then unfold the long edge. Take the shorter edge and wrap it around right on that pressed fold line. So I've now flipped it over. So here's that edge I wrapped around to the front. And here is that fold line. It goes along here and here. So you want to make sure they're lined up, that you've got those together. I put a few pins to hold because I don't want the fabric to shift while I'm stitching. And then stitch right on top of that fold line from here to here and back stitch at each end. And you will do that at all 4 corners. I recommend that before you turn this front side out, that you cut some of this fabric off. Don't go right into where the stitch line is. Come down about 1/4 inch and then come in about 1/4 inch from the fold line and cut some of this off. And now turn it front side out and poke your corners out. And when you're done, you have this really nice finished corner. This is the front side, and then here's the back side. Now I still have the not so pretty side facing up. One of the things that I need to mention, especially if you're working with plaids and stripes, that when you're folding your edges over, you want to make sure it's all in alignment. All the lines are connected together, because this poncho is kind of an open garment and people will be able to see a little bit on the inside of the garment, especially at the bottom edge. So you want to make sure it looks nice and clean. So as you're folding and pressing, make sure everything's lined up. Make sure everything's lined up before you stitch. So I have placed pins to hold the fabric in place so that it doesn't shift while I'm stitching. And then again, starting on your shorter edge, you're going to stitch about 1/8 of an inch from the folded edge all along here, then go to your other shorter edge and do the same thing. And then you're going to do the same thing. Pin this edge, your 2 longer edges, pin them down, and then stitching from here right over to this edge here and go all the way across, and then back stitch at both ends. Now I still have the not so pretty side facing up. Take one of your shorter ends and just fold it over like that. And then take your other end and overlap it by about the same width as the hem along there, which is about 1.5 inches. So here's how I have it overlapped. And I've already got my buttons. This is the finished poncho. One of the things you're going to need to do before you put your buttons on is you want to bring the 2 ends together and overlap them. And then place some pins along the edge here, but leave an opening that's about maybe 13 or 14 inches open up here. So you're going to go down from this fold and then place some pins down along here. Then put it over your head. Make sure your opening is big enough to go over your head. You may want a really large opening because you don't want it snug around your neck. For me, I wanted a really small opening because my neck always gets cold. So my neck opening is only about somewhere between 12 and 13 inches. It was just enough to get my head through. Once you decided how wide your opening is going to be, then you're going to evenly space your buttons. And I put 5 on mine, and they're about 3 inches apart. So what I did was I placed a pin exactly where the button is to be stitched on. So I had pins all along here. I had 5. Some of you are only going to maybe put 4. So in between where those pins are is 3 inches. You can either put these into your sewing machine and stitch them on your sewing machine, or you can hand stitch them with needle and thread. And you go all the way through all the fabric layers there, because you're actually just stitching it closed. It's not an opening that you are going to be undoing. So this is what it looks like when you're all done sewing. Now it's going to be open on this edge over here, and then on the bottom edge, and then here is that side area with the buttons on it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that you learned something new. Now, one of the things you can do when you're wearing it, right now the buttons are over my shoulder area. I like to go to the very end around my neck and fold that underneath right there, so it really comes up really nice around my neck. And also, don't forget, you can also turn this to where the buttons are going down the front. It gives it sort of a very chic look, if you want to call it that. Well, if you're interested in other ponchos that you can see on each side of me, I have many poncho tutorials. It's one of my favorite pieces of clothing to make because they are so easy. I'm going to have links below your YouTube screen in the description section. Now also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram and make sure you check out my Facebook page. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and happy sewing. If you like the Sewing Room channel, one of the best ways to show your support is to subscribe by clicking on that red subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to click on share to share this video with your friends. And make sure you click on the bell so you receive notifications for all my new videos. I'm Cheryl, this is Manny, and this is Scotty. See you next time.